Hello, my name is Greg, and tonight I'm going to be, I'm a third-year computer science student, and today I'm going to be sharing some ideas I've come across in my private studies. This talk combines ideas from a book I read called Other Minds on the evolution of intelligence, and an article on the website Wait But Why about Neuralink, a company founded by Elon Musk, which is working on brain-machine interfaces. So the octopus is an interesting creature for many reasons. They come in all shapes and sizes, they have near-perfect camouflage ability, they can use tools and solve puzzles, escaping from mazes, and even from inside of closed jars. And they can fit into pretty much any space because they have no hard parts, they're soft-bodied. What's really interesting is how well they demonstrate the phenomenon of convergent evolution. They're about as close to alien intelligence that we can observe because we diverged from them so long ago evolutionarily. Our last common ancestor lived about 600 million years ago and was something like a small aquatic worm. So this means we separately evolved all our shared characteristics, from a lens eye to a closed circulatory system and advanced intelligence. They really are intelligent creatures. They're renowned escape artists, and they're well known for being able to have an uncanny ability to tell when you're not looking at them so that they can stage an escape. What really intrigues me about their intelligence is that it emerges from such a different brain structure than our own. The human mind is centralized in our skull, and while there are different parts to it, it's mostly a single unit. But it's very different for an octopus. There's a small central brain and two large optical lobes, but 60% of their neurons are in the limbs. There's a large cluster of neurons at the base of each tentacle, and this effectively gives their tentacles independent control. It's like their legs have minds of their own. So I wonder, what would this be like subjectively to effectively have 9 brains? Well, perhaps that's not such an alien concept to us, because our brain is split between the areas responsible for higher thought versus lower emotion and survival instincts. And when these areas are in conflict, it can almost feel like there's multiple people inside our heads battling out whatever we're concerned about. I talk about the octopus because I think it demonstrates very well the physical flexibility of the mind. It shows that intelligence can emerge from extremely different structures, and this brings me on to the flexibility of already formed minds. This is known as neuroplasticity. So we're most familiar with this concept in how it relates to young people, how easily a young person can learn a new language or a new instrument. And we think of it as being lost as we get older, but it is retained into adulthood. And perhaps the best example of this is through tactile vision substitution systems, which I'll now explain. This device is called the brain port. It's designed for visually impaired people. The idea is to take a grid of electrodes that can deliver small electric shocks to areas of the skin. In this case, it goes on the tongue. We then take the feed from a camera and pass this onto the electrode array so that we can display visual information through the touch sense. So this is quite a cool concept. You can imagine blind people can sort of feel their way around a visual feed. But what's really incredible is that the brain, after a while, they stop just feeling this, and it becomes taken on as sight. The brain is able to pass the information through the visual cortex, and patients report actually seeing this data that's input through the tongue. And not just for blind people as well. After 20 minutes, pretty much anyone can learn to navigate a room using one of these devices. And in subjective awareness, this data is actually seen, which is really interesting. But how far could we take this concept? So if instead of going through the tongue, we, say, implanted an electrode directly into the brain, just how far could we take this concept? So the idea here would be implant an electrode array so that we can read the electrical signals given off by the neurons in the brain. We then correlate the electrical signals depending on whatever the patient's thinking about. So say we show them a lot of positive images, like people smiling, and record the electrical output there, and then compare that to when we show them negative images of people frowning, say. And then using advanced algorithms, we can roughly correlate these electrical signals to get an idea of what signals mean what thoughts and emotions. So if we can do that well enough, then we can effectively read minds, and that's pretty cool. But I'm really interested in what happens if we play back these signals. If we learn the electrical signals that correspond to, say, an octopus, and then we play it back into the mind, what would that be like subjectively? Would it be like someone put a thought in your mind? Or perhaps like the thought just came out of nowhere, like thoughts often do? So this is a really interesting concept, and the company Neuralink is doing a lot of work on this. They're surgically implanting electrode threads into brains, and they've seen success with this. They've actually managed to get a monkey to be able to control a computer just with its mind. So this is no longer the realm of science fiction, this is now, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. So that's pretty cool, but it's very invasive. The average person isn't willing to volunteer to have brain surgery for this sort of thing. So I'm really interested in how far can we take these sorts of ideas in a non-invasive manner. And this led me to found my startup, Sensorum. We're going to be working on non-invasive sensory augmentation products. The first product will be enabling magnetoreception in humans. So if you wear this vibrating wearable, you'd be able to know which way north is at all times. And this data would be passively incorporated into your sense of direction and just improve awareness throughout your day. So I'm really excited for the future of this. If you're interested, we'll probably have a product out by the end of the summer. So if you want to stay updated and you want to be able to sense which way north is, then you can sign up to the mailing list at sensorum.co.uk and follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. I am so glad that I chose to read far wider than required by my degree, and I'd encourage everyone to make a commitment to lifelong learning, because you never know where the ideas you come across might take you. So thank you for coming to listen tonight, and that's all I have to say.